I don't hate it. I don't like it. I'm indifferent toward it. My girlfriend will play it, and I'll just let it. It's one of the few shows that I'm indifferent enough towards that I'll let play in the background because I can look up every now and then. It's okay. If it's like Sister Wives or something like that, man, I'd rather just go outside. I'd rather go read a book in my room or like come up here and play a game. Like I can't watch trash TV.
You know what does that to me? Competitive baking shows. Like if you're fucking competing with other people to make the best cake or cupcake or whatever, I'll assume you're actively trying to get me to leave the room. Like this is Woody repellent that you have on this TV, and you must not want me here.
I like cooking shows, but like the idea of, especially when they're decorating cakes, and you're like, you can't even eat that anymore, you asshole! Like it's covered with spackle. Fondant is just edible spackle. It's not even about making
wooden
taste good.
Structure with fondant layered on it. It's hardly a cake.
I like, I don't know, a little reality in my reality TV, I guess.
Having done the Hot Wheels TV show, I was surprised at like how accurate like reality TV like really is to what's going on. I mean, I kind of came into that thinking like, oh, there'll be a bunch of behind the camera trickery, that kind of stuff. But they really stuck to the rules. I mean, we had off camera help that, would, do like we'd build one chassis rail. They'd been the one that matched. I mean, they made the show possible, certainly. But like really TV is those contests, stuff like that are really pretty tightly regulated. Like they can't just go home and get their cupcakes right and come back in the next day. I mean, they really, really push it hard to make it exactly what it is. And I was kind of surprised by that.
So let me tell you the example of watching a show and loving it and then feeling like there was just cheatery going on. It's one of Gordon Ramsay's shows. I'm spacing on the name, but they're all the same. A bunch of chefs are competing for a job or a prize. We all cook the same thing. He judges it. You can get immunity from the next round and not have to cook if you do well in the first thing. They bring in a blind lady, and she's going to be competing in these timed cooking competitions, 1 hour, right? A big part of it is like, what are you going to make? The star of your dish is squid ink. What are you going to make? Well, you got to come up with that idea. Yeah.
Is that a real one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had it. It turns your teeth black.
It turns your teeth black. Yeah. You got to come up with that idea, and then you got to run into a pantry, and they have like the world's best pantry. And of course, they stock it around what's going to be done. This beautiful, talented, wonderfully spoken woman right here is blind, and she can't fucking see shit. And she outcooked these people somehow, and it would always look right, and it would never be done wrong. And then there was a part at the end, I've talked about this before, where it was like, all right, your final four, pair off into pairs and compete against each other. Now you have 2 hours to cook a 5-course meal for 3 celebrity judges. Whoever her partner is now fucked. They made her partner the best guy on the show. So now when they lose, inevitably, because he's having to lead a blind woman, now they're on the chopping block. Well, which one are we going to kick off? The blind lady or the best guy or the white guy who's just been the best guy on the show? They kicked him off. And then she goes on and wins the whole kit and caboodle. And like, she's the one who comes back the next season. They do that. The next season, what part of winning the show is you get a book. And so she's like coming back to promote her book the next year, the next season of the show. And there her blind ass is. But now I'm going to teach you how to make my fancy dish. And there's just clearly some camera trickery going on where somebody's coming in and go, hey, it looks like shit. It looks like shit. You really
Does she have a helper that they just didn't show, you think?
There was a part where they had an assistant who couldn't touch anything. I think they were just like her eyes. And that was unbelievable to me. If she was able to actually get any of that shit done because they got an hour. It's not like they gave her an extra hour. Then I could maybe believe. But I felt like they cheated to make her win that show, because a blind winner is just such a cool storyline versus, Ted won.
Yeah, that does. I thought she was going to have an assistant. That's where I thought this was going. When I was in 5th and 6th grade, I had a classmate with cerebral palsy. Now, this person had cerebral palsy. I don't know if it comes in grades, but he had it bad, right? Like he was wheelchair bound, and he couldn't speak very well, and he couldn't move very well. And he had a full-time assistant next to him. This is a grown woman, and she was like his nurse kind of assistant, whatever. And everyone was like, oh, it's such a shame that Jason has cerebral palsy because he's a genius. He gets 100 on every test, every quiz, knows everything. And it's like, there's a grown fucking woman doing his work for him. There's a mom partnered with him on 6th grade level work. Of course he gets 100 on every test. Yeah, you know how gifted they'd consider me if I went back to 6th grade? I would kick those kids' ass. That's what he did.
Yeah, that doesn't seem exactly fair. Of course, life hasn't been fair for him ever.
Oh, don't make excuses for that cocksuck. He got all A's. No, I'm just kidding.
He got all A's. What did he do with him? He's in that chair. Let him have his A's. It's not like he got a scholarship that somebody didn't get.
No. I don't know this, but I imagine if you have cerebral palsy like that, you don't live a long life.
I don't know anything about that disease. I don't know. Is that what did Hawking have? Stephen Hawking.
Oh, he was very much like him. Did he have cerebral palsy too?
His came in like in his 20s. It was something similar though. I can't remember exactly.
That's so terrible.
He had oh goodness. I need
he was
Taylor
like a
here.
grad. Yeah, he was like a grad.
Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
ALS.
Oh shit! Yeah, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. I'm sorry, I didn't. Yeah, all right. So that's what he had.
Yeah, which he made it a long time with that, though. I mean, that often takes people out in a year or two, and Hawking made it 40 years. I mean, he was way out there when he.
I wonder if that comes in degrees too, right? Like,
I think most things do.
Yeah, I always liked the stories about Stephen Hawking, how he had a sense of humor. I can't remember exactly what it was, but somebody like tripped over his a cord or something, like he was charging his chair, and he immediately slumped forward like he'd like that. He just went like he was a puppet being like they turned the off switch or something, and they're like, oh my god, I turned Stephen off.
That's funny.
He famously had a couple of guest appearances on Star Trek where Data goes into a holograph, the holosuite, and he wants to see like the geniuses from history. So I think he's got Albert Einstein and Stephen Hawking and maybe Isaac Newton, and they're all playing poker together or something like that. And they just, there's Stephen Hawking is. He's clearly a Star Trek fan, and he always had something funny to type into that little silly thing of his. What a terrible thing to be so gifted. Like, I don't know anything about this, but it seems like one of the smartest people ever, right? But to be stuck in that chair, that's terrible.
Yeah, but he was still a rock star with it, though. He supposedly had an affair with one of his nurses or something, or rolled away with her at some point.
Rolled away.
He kind of lived like a rock star.
Roll me into the closet.
Yeah, really. One of
Keep
my
your mouth
favorite
shut.
YouTube channels of all time is Epic Rap Battles of History.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And there's one that's like Albert Einstein versus Stephen Hawking that just kills it. It is so good.